Okay, here we go. After much deliberation, I have finally been able to determine somewhat the four sons of Ham, the four groups, individual lineage or trees of Ham, which are not so individual in the case of Cush because he's all over the map. But at any rate, I have determined four lineages of Ham, so I might as well go ahead and get to it, to the demonstration here. I may do a screen share. And here I go. So, as you will see, this is a very good definition of the Y haplogroups here. So, after considering and much consideration and deliberation, I have A, B, and C as the descendants of Cush. So it's A and B and C as the descendants of Cush. Okay, the new thing here is that I can't include D as a descendant of Cush. So what I did, I included him in Canaan as a descendant of one of the descendants of Canaan, which is what was suggested to me earlier, that D could be of the tribe, the Sinite tribe, the descendant of Canaan. So that because we have this separation here between the three other sons of Ham. Cush is one son of Ham, but then we have three other sons of Ham that have the same snip. And if you wonder how that could be, well, that would have to be that Cush would have to have been the firstborn, and which includes Nimrod, the CY chromosome. And then Cush had a SNP modification, and then he had his three other sons, which are Canaan, Mitzrayim, and Phut. So we have here, you might see here, there's 1, 2, and 3 divisions. So it'd be the M33, 132, and there's one line, and the M75 is the other line, and the P2 would be the other line. Now, some of this might change, some of this might not be correct, and such. But what it seems to be here is that you have the E1 is one line, E2 is the other line, and the E3 would be the third line. 3 separate family trees under Cush. Now there's 3 sons of Ham right here. And remember, we already have the designation of the 4th son of Ham as being Cush, which is A, B, and C. Now D doesn't follow under Cush, it follows under one of these three sons of Ham, which I'm designating as being Canaan. D, the son of Canaan, would be Sinite, which is where we get the word Sino or Sinim for China. And so I'm designating D as the haplogroup for China. So this is the D and up to Tibet to Japan. So, for what it's worth, that's how it's divided here. So that's the way it seems to be going, which could cause some confusion here, because then that means probably that majority of the other people are descendants of Mitzrayim. But then we also have Phut and Canaan. I don't know which is which yet. Can't figure out. This is 132 and not 123. So I have to look at that a little bit more. So it's M33, M75, and this P2, which is M35, M2, which these are all E3s here. And maybe there's some other division, but this M78, this is the one with the V12, the V13, and the V32, which is Mitzrayim. Now it also has the M81, which is the Berbers, which is a possibility. And it also has the M123, which is basically outside of Africa. So we'll have to think about that some more, because I was thinking this was outside of Africa. This was Canaan outside of Africa. This was Phut, the Phoenician, the Berbers, which is a bigger family tree than this, by the way. Well, I mean, if you include all this. And this M78, I believe that's Mitzrayim, would have been Mitzrayim. But then you have all the rest of these, and what's the rest of these here? What's this? 1, 2, 3 division here. I'm thinking, if this is correct here, you got the A, B, and C, which is Cush, and then we have these 1, 2, and 3 here nodes, which is M33, M75, and P2. So P2 is probably Mitzrayim. M75, I don't know which is which, but we'll have to look at it and see where it is on the map. But they're basically divided simply as E1, E2, and E3. The three other sons of Ham besides Cush. So I'll just put that out there for right now. It looks the way, and that would have all the Hamitic people covered. Now, if it can be proven that the E's are somehow Semitic, I don't know which branch of here is supposed to be Semitic, but they're all basically, I mean, you could even see the way they have it here. They have a color coded, even color coded. See, you have this color here is one group. This color here is another group, right? This is what I'm saying. B includes the F, G, H, I, J. And then you have the K, which is over here, if it shows it. The K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. So that seems to be the way it is. That might be what the genetic evidence is showing here. Because Mitzrayim did have a lot of sons. We can go look at those maps again and see how many sons Mitzrayim had. And as opposed to the other groups, I have to see what these other groups are, M33 and such. So let me see what we got there. From Yeshua reborn, D, E, and likely C, F are only true Semitic haplogroups. D, E, which is the conversation I had earlier was that E was probably Semitic and F, but F is an entire group, G, H, I, and J, unless you're considering just the F. D, E go together, which is why I took D off from being the son of Cush, and I put D under Canaan. And C can still go under Cush, according to the map there. So, yeah, but it is a deep discussion, involved discussion, and it's one I'm sure we'll get back to. But you can see it's even color coded, the three groups here, A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, D, and E, which Cush would be A, B, and C. And the other sons of Ham would be Mitzrayim, Phut, and Canaan. Right now, this looks like Mitzrayim, which is M78, M81, and M123, which I think is the one that goes outside of Egypt. Now, the other one would be Canaan. One of these is Canaan, M33 and M35. The other one is Cush. So now there's a way to do this, which I might be able to do right now. If I can, I'll just try to find. Oops. Try this with the images here, and some of these maps are pretty good. Like I think maybe this one here, if I can pull this one up here. Oh, fraudulent! It says fraudulent story. Yeah, out of Africa is fraudulent. This is so, but if we can look at this. Okay, and of course, it's not M170, that's I and J, or maybe there's another one. but I'm looking for the M35. Yeah. Okay, so the M35 could be Canaan. And the other one is M2. Let me see what that was. M35, M33, M35. Okay, let me see if I can find M33, which probably doesn't have it right here. But basically everything except M35 is Mitzrayim, and M33, which I'm not seeing right away. What's the other number here? Let me see if I can find the other number. One M33 is 132. Okay, so let me look at 132. Any 132? Okay, and of course the debunked part, the fraudulent theory, the fraudulent story. That would be, of course, these millions of years or whatever they are, thousands of years. And it's the idea that the Semitic population evolved from the Hamitic populations, and the Japhethite populations evolved from the Semitic populations, which is nonsense. But let me go back over here, see if I can find another one, because I think I might have seen one of these. Okay, I want you to log in. Out of Africa. 30. I2, I2, I2. Wants to show notification. No, I don't want notifications. Yeah, this is just basically the age story of the ages. This one was interesting. They had another one. This is only part. Okay. Part of the story. Okay, here's mtDNA. Exclusively in Africa. So it would have to be the wife of Ham. Okay, or yeah, the daughters of Ham. I mean, the daughters of be the Hamitic mitochondrial DNA. Then from that you get the M and the N. The M goes to Asia, the N is more or less Semitic. Now there's the problem is every time you go look for a map or a chart, they have different ones, and then you go to look for it again, you can't find it. That's why I had to email that chart for me, because I couldn't find it anywhere. I found it on my phone. I had to email it to myself so I could even show the details of the Hamitic lineage, because otherwise the rest of the stuff doesn't even have it in an orderly fashion. Now there's supposed to be a chart, and it's coming up maps. I'll just say Africa. Yeah, this is better. Because now I'm getting these different groupings, which may or may not work. Okay, there we go. Well, let me get back here. Okay, so without hurting this too much, I wanted to zoom in. I can't zoom in very well, so I'll just go like this, which doesn't work either. Oh, there you go. Okay, there's the M34 right there, outside of Africa. Of course, this M78 is Mitzrayim. M81 is probably Mitzrayim too. And Mitzrayim 3. Let me see. Just like that. Yeah. M34. See where that is. See how that lines up. 35. Oh, here's 34. Is this 34? 54. Or is it no, it's 75. M75, M33. So we got to find, if we can find the M33 and the M75, might be Canaan and Phut, at least for the time being. So at 75 and 33. Probably can't find 75 or 33. There's 34. And here's 1, 2, 3 right here. This is the one I thought was Canaan before. And so you would have Canaan, Mitzrayim, which is 78, and M81, which would be Phut, I thought. And then maybe this is Cush. Okay, but the M35 is V42, V6, V92, M293. Can't see. Yeah, 293, something like that. But this M35, seems to be that it's Mitzrayim, because Mitzrayim had lots of sons too. So we have the M81, M78, 1, 2, 3, all M35, right? So this is all one family. And along with the M2, it's all E3. So even if this was, say, Mitzrayim, Phut, and Canaan, you still have M2. What's M2? You still have M75. What's M75? Still have M33. What's M33? So I went all the way back to this P29, or this mutation here, and I just include all these, 1, 2, 3, including the D, The D, I believe, came from one of these lines here, branches, which would be Canaan, as far as I can tell so far, would be Sinim, or the Sinites, which went to Sinim, which would be China. And that would be the DY chromosome going through Tibet all the way to Japan, all the way through China. So, because I can't have D and C in the same family because that wouldn't make sense that Ham had the same mutation as Cush. Wouldn't make sense. So it'd have to be these three sons had a mutation, or Ham had a mutations to have these three sons after Cush was born. And of course, Nimrod is the son of Cush, which doesn't have the D mutation. So the D mutation could be Sinite, the Sinites tribe, which is Canaanite tribe, which went to the land of Sinim, all the way through Tibet, China, all the way to Japan. So that might explain that. Anyway, that's really the first time I've ever been able to organize all of these into 4 groups. And so Cush, of course, we know about Nimrod, the son of Cush, in the land of Shinar, Mesopotamia, the house of Nimrod, many, many, many descendants, many, many Y chromosome haplogroup lineages. He descended from Nimrod, as well as the A and the B. So we have a nice, neat order here, which is the A, B, and C. So somebody can see it. So we got all the A's, all the B's, all the C's in one group, and we have the D being a part of one of these groups, which is E1, E2, and E3, which is these 3 groups here, E1, E2, and E3. Plus this group here, D, has the same SNP as this group here, so D is probably a descendant of one of these 3 lines, probably Sinim, the line of Canaan. So if I can find M3 and M75, that would be interesting, because a lot of these maps and charts are so lacking so much information. This one here is fairly thorough, and again showing with 3 color codes the 3 different groups of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and of course Q and R down here. These are, I believe that they're, for the time being, R is Gomer, Q is Badai, O is Magog, N is Meshach, M is that's M and S. M and S is all the way in Papua New Guinea. You got the L and the T, which doesn't even have the T, but the L and the T, which is the Greek haplogroup. So there's Thrace. L is Thracians. What's this here? Yeah, L is the Thracians. T is Javan. M and S is Tubal K. And we got Madai, Gomer, and Magog. And Meshach. Meshach is in. Sort of. That's the way I have it so far. Of course, you could go with Madai and Gomer with twins, but, I don't know if you want to go there. But well, it is a possibility, Other than that, and they do show up in some of the same places. They kind of shadow each other. And but I'm pretty sure they're distinct tribes, because other than that, Gomer would be huge. If it was all Gomer, if this here was all Gomer, it'd be a huge lineage. Of course, O's pretty big too. O's the biggest one in the world. So let's see what else we got going on. Anything? Nothing? Oops. Where am I? Okay. Actually, yeah, let me see if anybody's here. Nobody here. Oh, we got Lion Farm. Hey, Lion Farm, what's up? Alec is here. Okay, we got I have C. I have A, B, C as the descendants of Cush. Of course, C never went to Africa, but B and C did go to Africa. And then I have the other ones. Okay. Let's see. A and B is Ham. D, E is Shem, he says. Hold on. So I can get this working. Okay. A, B, he has his Ham. Well, I have that as Cush. D, E, he's got a Shem, which they go together. D and E go together. C and F is Japhetic. Well, but except that C, well, they really have it confused. See, that's another thing I wanted to explain was when you come here to this division here between, see the color-coded things? They have to tie F, G, H, I, J, and K with a C. They have to. Because if they didn't tie this together, it would disprove evolution. And it would disprove the out of Africa theory. So they have to connect these two. That's the reason I can't trust their ancient DNA findings here. Especially when these are all one group here. These are all one family group right here. G, H, I, J, and K right here. Or not K. K starts the next group, but so this K that starts the next group. This is of course the Japhethite group. This would be the Semitic group, but they have to tie the Semitic group to the Hamitic group. They have to tie it in, whether it's tied in or not, or else it would disprove evolution. And they have to tie Japhethites as evolving from the Semitic people, which is nonsense, because if not, it would disprove evolution. So they have to tie it in somehow, these three groups together. So it's this group here, which is the Japhethite group. This group here has to be tied in with this group here, which is the Semitic group, which has to be tied into this group here, which is the Hamitic group. As far as we can logically and reasonably discern or determine, because of basically the location of all and the history of where these people are today and where they were, where they've been, and things like that. But this is clearly one tree here together. You can't separate G, H, I, J, and K from each other. Or, well, K is the next group. But you can't separate GHI or FGHI from each other. You can't separate them because they're all Semitic group, one Semitic group, and you can't separate K, LMNO, PQ, RS, and T from each other. They're one group. So this is one group, Japhethite group. This is one Semitic group. And this is one Hamitic group. But they have to tie them together like this, because if not, it would disprove evolution. It would be contrary to the out of Africa belief. But you can see the distinct family trees. This is one family tree lineage here of Japhethite. This is one family tree of the Semitic population. And this is one family tree of Cush and the other sons of Ham, 1, 2, and 3, which are Canaan, Phut, and Mitzrayim. Not necessarily in the right order. But C is the descendant of Cush, so C is tied in with A and B, but D can't be tied in with A, B, and C. D has to be tied in with E. So I have D, instead of being Havilah, the son of Cush, I have D, the Sinite, the one that went to Sinim, or was said to have gone to Sinim, which is China, known as China. So that's as far as I've gotten, pretty much. But at least I have 4 distinct family trees of Ham, which would be Cush, Mitzrayim, Phut, and Canaan, and even Sinite and Nimrod. Sinite, the son of Canaan, and Nimrod, the son of Cush. So that seems to be how that works out pretty well. Fossils. No. Well, if you can trust the quote unquote fossil DNA, but if you can't trust the fossil DNA, that's what the problem is. And but C is definitely Cush. Let me see what he said. C isn't Cush. You have no evidence yet. We have Cushites as A and B. That doesn't make C. Y DNA goes father and son. I was trying to explain this to you earlier, but it didn't seem like you could understand that everybody was building the Tower of Babel until 100 years after the global flood. That's when they began speaking different languages and they all separated, went their ways. But Cush was the king of the land of Shinar, and he remained as king of the Sumerians, king of the Assyrians, king of Mesopotamia until he was killed. And the household of Nimrod was larger than the household of David, which was very large. So the household of David was the his sons and Solomon's sons. As many hundreds as they may have had, and the same thing is true, and more so with Nimrod, with the CY chromosome, which was in Asia, because he remained king of Mesopotamia until he was killed by supposedly Esau of the Edomites, which is another JY chromosome. So the Edomites have a JY chromosome. The 7 sons of Hagar and the other one, what am I doing here? What do I do here? Okay, let me see. Okay. Exit full screen. How about that? Okay. All right. So, so Hagar and the other mother of the sons of Ishmael and the other 6 sons of the other wife of Abraham, they have a J Keturah. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Hagar and Keturah, they had even more JY chromosome sons, and which would have become the Arabic sons, Arabic in the area, which could have gone anywhere. I mean, they could have been, could have gone into Europe, could have gone anywhere for that matter, right? But the point being is that there were many J2 sons of Abraham and J1 and J2, and of course I2 and I1 were the Danites. No, this is a new this is a new broadcast. But I guess we can continue. We could continue fighting it out. But we had a fun time. I'm just showing the descendants of Ham. I have them in 4 distinct groups. Descendants of Ham. Yeah, but Lion Farm was having trouble understanding that C could stay in the land of Shinar while Cush and his other sons, which were the E1, E2, and E3, his other sons, which were E1, E2, and E3, went to Africa. While Nimrod, the son of Cush, remained in Babylon as the king of Shinar. I don't see how hard that is to understand. Yeah, Jay went everywhere. Jay, they were put. In fact, they were pushed out of Israel, pushed north into Turkey, into Iran, into Anatolia, into the Caucasus. If they weren't there already, into the Caucasus regions, above the Black Sea area, into Europe. They were pushed out of the land of Israel. The J2s were all pushed out of the land of Israel, just like the rest of Israel was. Which some of that J2 probably is Israel that was pushed out of Israel. And maybe only the M172, maybe that's Judah. Maybe only the M172 is Judah, I don't know. Or the households of David and Solomon. But the fact remains is that the Cohen modal haplogroup is J1, and the main population of the Judaic populations is J2. So you really can't say that J2 is not Jewish. And we have, the Elamites, they can go through this too, right? The Elamites are Dravidians. If I can find it. So yeah, 48% J. Ashkenazi Jewish haplogroups. It's a clear winner. G is the second largest population. G. Not E, G. And there's the R1A, R1B, the T, the Q, and the I of the Ashkenazi, because that would be the tribe of Dan anyway, which was basically lost, except for a few of them, in the Judaic population. So just in case people can't see, J's almost 50%, and it would be 50% if you add the I, and at least some of the J was from the Judaic population anyways. Some of the E was already part of the Judaic population. Some of the R1A Ashkenazi and R1B Ribfath, and the T Javans, the C people. Remember the C people? There it is right there. And the Q from Madai, the Americas. It's a Jewish signature right there. Jewish haplogroup signature with a close to 50% J Y chromosome population. So anyway, that kind of seals the deal to me. Here's the regular Jews. It's the same signatures, just different percentages. Of course, of different percentage of Canaanites, and the J's 30, R1B, R1A, the G, which I changed to Aramean, the Q, which is still Madai, the T, which is Javan, and the I, of course, is Dan, the wayward tribe of Dan. And of course, this is the reason Nimrod remained in the area and was because he was king of the world, the Tower of Babel. When people started speaking their own languages, then everybody split up except for Nimrod. He remained as king in the land of Shinar, king of the Assyrians. King of the Assyrians. That's why the Assyrians have long curly hair in like or kind of like a hairnet, it looks like. And then and then they went all the way to Europe with the, which I think is the F, which is F is like the FY chromosome went into Europe, and that's why the early Europeans were darker in skin color, is because of the CY chromosome that accompanied the Assyrians into Europe, or that were basically the ruling class was Nimrod's descendants of the Assyrians for a long time. And the Bible even ties the Assyrians to Nimrod as being one and the same group. So that's pretty clear. Now, what was I looking for? I was looking for something. Here's some J2 populations here. You can see huge J2 populations. Now, what's that representing is another story, probably. Okay, here's the Canaanites. So you got the Arvadites, the Zimrites, Sinites, Sidonians, Amorites, Perizzites, Hittites, Jebusites, Girgashites, Hittites, Amorites, but we got the Sinites here. These Sinites were said to have gone to China, and that's why China is called Sinim, from Sinai, from the word Sinai. And so that's what I'm designating now as the DY chromosome, descendant of Canaan, because I can't tie them into Cush. And notice this one here, Shinar. You have Shinar here. It's a green color because it's Hamitic, Shinar. And of course, you got the other ones. Oh, I think I'm looking for the other map, though. The other map's the other way, I think. Okay. Of course, that was the ancient DNA, which Lion Farm was asking me about the C. Here's the C right here. C1, BC1, A2, whatever. Right in Anatolia. And of course, up in here too, C1 up here, C1A2 in Europe. So you got Nimrod's descendants in Europe in ancient times. Okay, this is all Dan. Looks like Dan pretty much, all Dan. R1B, here we have again Ashkenaz and Riphath in the land of Gomer, or actually up in here. Came from here and moved here. So you can actually see that the R1As and the R1Bs were in this area here. Okay. The J, well, you got a J, of course, which could be anybody. Q, which is Madai, R1A, R1B, and then later on they moved into this area over here. Okay. We have some Egyptians here, and have some Egyptians here in Iberia, and Nimrod's here in Iberia too. Nimrod, Egyptians. We got Elamites, Danites. Okay, Danites and Nimrod and Danites. Mitzrayim, Elamites, Danites. J2, Nimrod here, and Danites and Elamites. And J1. G2, I've actually reassigned, those are Arameans. G, I had as Assyrians, but I don't think they're Assyrians. I think they're Arameans now. Arameans were like right here in Israel. So this G, that's G, you can't tell, but I think it's G, would be the Arameans. And of course, the Greeks had, this is the area that the Greeks had a lot of trade. The Greeks. And the T, which is, this is a TY chromosome. It doesn't say it, but this is the TY chromosome here. And they're highly concentrated in this area where they had trade with the Horn of Africa from as the Javan Greek Sea peoples. And it would make sense at all. And I think Lion Farms agrees that this wouldn't make sense as being Jewish, because I mean it just doesn't really follow the Jewish populations really very well. But it does follow the Greeks who had trade with the Horn of Africa. So the early Greeks, the Javan Sea people, which became Phoenicians too, had trade with the Horn of Africa. As these are the other Greeks, which is the L, also went to India. Is the Thracians. That's the Thracians that went to India. And the O would be Magog, China. The X is in the Levant area as well as the Great Lakes area. That's the XY chromosome because of the Phoenician trade. You have both X2A. They're both X2A here and here. As we see here, X2A here, X2A here in the Levant, and X2A here in the copper mines in America. And that's another X. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this map right here. So I'm looking for. I think I was looking for it anyways. Well, yeah, Mitzrayim. These are the sons of Mitzrayim. So, and they spread out quite a bit. Of course, they were in Captorim, which became the Philistines, which went over to the land of Canaan. And Anaim, Lehabim, Kashulim, Pashrusim, all descendants of Mitzrayim. Of course, Cush had lots of descendants too. Seba, Sabta, and all these people. But it seems like the Canaanite, the Sinai, or the Canaanites of Sinai became the Chinese, the first Hamitic Chinese, which would be the D chromosome, it seems. But yeah, because we have Cush had a lot of sons, Mitzrayim had a lot of sons, and Phut is not very, very strong as far as having a lot of sons. But Canaan, we know about Canaan already. And here's the Sinite of the Sinim of the Chinese that went to China would be with a DY chromosome that has to be connected to either Canaan, Phut, Mitzrayim. It can't be connected to Cush. So that's why I'm going with a suggestion that maybe it's the Sinites. And because I was talking the other day with the other video, he suggested to me that the Sinites could have been the DY chromosome that went to China. So I'm going with that because you can connect it to Canaan, Mitzrayim, and Phut, but you can't connect the DY chromosome to Cush. But C is connected to Cush. So C is still Nimrod. So that seems to be it. Mitzrayim is the biggest population apart from Cush. So Mitzrayim is the hugest population. Canaan got knocked down pretty bad, got hit pretty bad. Of course, there were the Hittites and the Amorites, Girgashite, all that we know all about them, So. But yeah, the DY chromosome has to be either one of these E1, E2, or E3s. And it looks like all the E3s are Mitzrayim. And the E2s, I guess they're Phut. Maybe the E1s. Have to see. Let me look again here. It would be a larger population. Wait a minute. Would I lose it? Oh, yeah. I have to go back to it. Anyway, this is what I wanted to show here. This HY chromosome here is Dravidian, which is Elamo-Dravidian, which is the HY chromosome of the Elamites. So this is Semitic. Of course, the L is Greek, the T is Greek, but the H is Semitic. So the Dravidian H is the Elamites, Elamo-Dravidian, the Elamite population, which is here, which moved into India, and of course is all around in here. So that would be the HY chromosome, including the Gypsy population, which is another thing, if anybody's still listening. This Gypsy population, which is Elamite with the HY chromosome, they claim to be Jewish too. And if you look at the Gypsy Y chromosome, the largest population is H. The next largest population is J2, not J1, not I1, not I2, J2. So their claim of being Judaic is true because they have the J2 Y chromosome. So where is that? And of course, you can see this huge area in the Danube, which is west of the Black Sea. So this huge area of the Danube is I2A. I2. And here's Sardinia is right here is I2 as well. I2 is in Sardinia or Sardinia. I2, they call it Slavic, but it's the Semitic people, which were known as Slavs. And they call it Germanic, but it's not really Germanic because it's Semitic. I is Semitic. Of course, you have the Q here, the R1A of Ashkenaz. I2 is here as well. So basically, they're two separate lines of I, but they're probably both, the lost Dan, tribes of Dan. And everything else is probably J something or other. Because you even have it, J1E, Middle Eastern Semitic. It even says Semitic, J1 Semitic. And if you look at, this J2 population all the way to Iran and everything, through Anatolia, Turkey, Iran, and then you go and look at this Neanderthal DNA chart right here. The cold spot for Denisovan allele frequency, which is both Hamitic and Japhetic, the cold spot is the area of the Semitic population. Right here, right up through here, Semitic populations. So they're the cold for Denisova allele frequency because the Denisova cave, which is right up here, is in the area of the R1B or the R1A, R1B, the Q, the N, the O, the C, and the D. So not only the descendants of Nimrod were here, the Sinim Sinite descendants of D were here as well, going all the way to Japan. They were all in this area here, as evidenced by this chart here. The R, the Q, the N, the O, of course, the D, the C. So you have the Hamitic D and C here, and the Japhetic R, Q, N, and O. So it makes sense that the Denisova cave in Siberia would be both Hamitic and Japhetic, and as we saw, not at all Semitic. According to this Denisova allele frequency, not Semitic. Denisova, very Hamitic, Japhetic, not Semitic. Okay? All right. Glad we got that cleared up. Same thing here. Denisova, very strong here. Hamitic, Japhetic here. Japhetic in this area, Semitic not so much. Of course, Neanderthal, it's a little bit, there's a bit green there. But of course, these are specs here. It's not a full picture at all. But it does give you a little bit of idea where Japheth is, and here. And then, of course, Neanderthal is Japhetic, which is the red. Denisova is the cool color. They have another map. It's just Neanderthal without the Denisovan, so I have to find again. But anyway, that's about it. Yeah, and of course, this is the signature of the Phoenicians and the Jewish people in America, which would be the brown, all these brown colors. How did I know? How did I know that B was Phoenician? Because they have B in America. This brown spot in America, B. E, this brown spot in America. G, the brown spot in America. I1, brown spot in America. I2, brown spot in America. J1 should be the Israel and Arabic. Brown spot in America. J2, brown spot in America. Oh, look at this. Look at this. T, which is the big signal of the Phoenician sea people. Look at, oh, we gotta make it smaller. Huge brown spot in America. The T, Y chromosome in America. Huge signature of the Phoenicians in America, the same as the R1B brown spot in America. That's how I knew what the Jewish population signature was, because these same Y chromosomes that are in the Phoenician population are in the Jewish population with different percentages, of course. That's how I knew. See, that's how I knew what the Phoenician population was. So, because it's the same as the Jewish population, of course, with including the mitochondrial X2A in the Levant and in the copper mines of America, which is another rabbit hole, of course. And the O is Magog, L Greeks. What was I looking for now? Oh, this one here. Just want to recap a little bit. So I've made a determination that D is not the son of Cush because D belongs with the E groups, which is E1. I put it here. E1, E2, and E3. D belongs to this group of E1, E2, and E3. So I have D as being a Sinite population, descendant of Canaan. So he's connected to Canaan, which would be one of these, either M33 or M75? So whichever one of these is in the area of the Canaanites, it's probably the ancestor of D, which has its own family tree connected to these sons of Ham. These three sons of Ham are separated from Cush, which is A, B, and C, including Nimrod, is separated from D and E, which is the other three sons of Cush, is Mitzrayim, Phut, and Canaan, E1, E2, E3. So it can't get much simpler than that as far as the four sons of Ham are concerned, because of the fact that Nimrod is the son of Cush. So he does belong with A and B. And D would belong, if he's a Sinite, would belong with Canaan, which is E1, E2, and E3. So you can't get much clearer than that as far as the four sons of Ham are concerned. So it took me a while, but I was able to determine the four family trees of Ham. Of course, the Semitics are totally isolated, complete separate tree by themselves, and the Japhethites are a complete separate tree by themselves. But the evolutionists have to connect them together, because if they didn't, it would disprove evolution. So they have to make up a story one way or not, by hook or by crook. They have to connect the Semitic populations as being evolved from the Hamitic population, And the Japhetic populations, which have the biggest brains of all, evolved from the Semitic populations. So they're showing a progression of evolution here, is what they're doing, which is, of course, nonsense, gibberish, pathetic, and not true, because these are all contemporaries. We know these populations are contemporaries with these populations, which are contemporary with these populations. We know there's 16 grandsons of Noah. You can count them up. Let's count together 16 16 grandsons of Noah. There's Cush is one. Canaan, Phut, Mitzrayim is another. That's 4 sons of Ham. F. There's 2 F's here. In fact, there's F1, 2, and 3, and there's another F which is unidentified. So that's be the Assyrians and Lydians are F and F4, whatever it is. G I have as the Arameans because they're more closely associated with Israel, right? Basically inside of Israel, the Arameans. And the H, of course, we know is the Elamites. I is the wayward Danites, which are connected. J and I are really the same. It's the same brand. They have them separated here because I is a huge population, by the way. I is a very large population in Europe. And of course, J is a large population because it includes all the Arabs, all the Edomites, all the Ammonites, all the Moabites, all the Hebrews descended from Eber and such. So that's huge populations. And then we have, okay, so that's, let's count them up. Did we count them all? Yeah. Yeah, it's, so it's Assyria, Lydia, Aram, Elam, and of course this is Arpachshad. I and J are Faxit. That's 5 sons of Shem, and we have L, M, actually K and M together, K, M, and S together, and we have L and T together, which T is not here. So it's Javan, Thrace, Tubal, Meshech, Magog, Madai, and Gomer. So that would be 7 sons of Japheth right there. And I believe if you go by the historical records and line it up with the historical facts, you'll have a better understanding of the divisions of the haplogroups and the way they actually fit together. And I was pleased to see how well C fits in with Cush, and D, too bad he doesn't fit in with Cush, but he does fit in with Canaan. And now everything is pretty much fitting together much better than it did before. Oh, look at this. Forgot to take this off. But look, this one here, okay, interesting because, okay, hold on a second. Let me just rub this in a little bit. Remember, Nimrod is his own lineage, has his own family tree, his own descendants that never went to Africa. But Cush did go to Africa with his other descendants. They did go to Africa. Anyways, see what else we got here. Uh, yeah, this separates F, G, H, I, and J. And remember, you're talking about quote unquote fossil DNA, which may or not be legitimate, especially when you're talking about separating these groups, especially when separating F, G, H, I, and J from A, B, C, D, and E. Then it becomes a very, very speculative and questionable because they have to evolve Semites from Africans, and they have to evolve Japhethites from Semites, which is total nonsense because we all came into being at the same time. The Chinese are not younger than we are, this or the Europeans or whatever, the Semitics, whatever. Uh, yeah, yeah, because you pick and choose too which ones you like and which ones you don't like, and so anyway, it was we had a good discussion, and I enjoyed it anyways, and it motivated me to get the Hamitic family tree together, or outlined as to which which descendants are from Cush, which descendants are from Mitzrayim, and it's making more sense now because Phut didn't have a lot of surviving descendants, and Canaan didn't have as many surviving descendants as Mitzrayim. But the ones that had surviving descendants, of course, are Cush and Mitzrayim. They had the most surviving descendants. So anyway, let me take this down before I leave it up for another couple of hours. But it's pretty good because I'm pleased the way it turned out because C absolutely fits in with A and B, and the one that doesn't fit in with A and B and C is D, but it does fit as a Sinite, which was had to have gone to Sinim, the land of China, where the DY chromosome is. So maybe that's even better than Havilah because the D has to be connected to either E1, E2, and E3. So that fits in, and of course, has its own lineage too. So it has these SNPs here, but it has its own family tree lineage, of course, because it goes its own way, and it has its own separate descendants. Of course, D goes up into Tibet, down to the Andamanese, up through Mongolia, all the way to Japan. And D is like 2/3 of the northern Japanese population. C, on the other hand, the descendants of Nimrod, we already been through that quite a bit, of how the Olmecs resemble the Polynesians because they have the same C ancestor Y chromosome, whose name is Nimrod. And it explains why the Europeans were darker in skin color too, because early on there was the CY chromosome in Europe, which affected the autosomal population in Europe early on. So everything's fitting together very well, regardless of what some people might think otherwise. But you can see it's even color coded, right? This is Ham, this is Shem, this is Japheth. It's color coded, right? So it's not complicated. Anyway, IJK makes R. R is all the way on the other end. R is way down at the last. You saw how far away R was, right? Yeah, they have to tie these together. They have to tie together I and J to the Japhethites, because if not, it would disprove evolution. They have to do it. By hook or by crook, they have to tie it all together. And we know that Japhethites are not Semitic, and they didn't evolve from the Semitic populations. And none of those evolved from Africans. They're all contemporaries. So there's some contamination of the, willful or involuntary or otherwise. There's some contamination of the CY chromosome with the GY chromosome and the FY chromosome. And with the other ones, there's probably contamination with the fossil DNA of the IJK, what you call IJK. There's probably contamination there too. So we can't trust it. We can trust historical records of the 16 grandsons of Noah all being contemporaries and not evolving from each other. That's what we have to go by. All right? It's K3. There's K1, 2, and 3, and K unknown. Are the same thing with F. And there's K, M, and S too. But they're all Japhethites. But for the time being, that's how I have it. And it'll stay that way pretty much as far as I can tell. For the time being, that's the way it is. That's the way it'll be until somebody can convince me otherwise. So take care, everybody. God bless. And keep studying. Yeah. IJK is a fossil. Yeah, but it's not. It's a fossil. Yeah, you're right. It's a fossil. So it does have contamination. And you don't need evolution because K did not evolve from I and J. They connect them together because they have to. Because if they didn't connect them together, evolution would be false. Out of Africa would be false. If they didn't find a contaminated Y chromosome. If they didn't find that contaminated Y chromosome, they couldn't connect them together. So they have to. They have to find a contaminated Y chromosome to connect Japheth with as being evolving from the Semitic population. But anyways, God bless everybody. Take care. I don't want to belabor the point. But God bless everybody and have a great rest of the weekend and weekdays. See y'all later. Later.